Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. Where's mine? There we go. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. The Texans get their first win of the season, defeating Jacksonville by a final score of 30-14. Both teams now are 1-4. Gardner Minshew. Minshew does it again. I've only been screaming this now for 3 months. How long have I been doing this? August, September. We're in October now. I started halfway in July, so basically 3 months now at this point. Gardner Minshew is an incredible fantasy option for you. He's going to get it done. And it really is just a matter of trusting him to do it. Right? That's the big thing. Starting Gardner Minshew, you're never going to feel great about it, but when the results are a consistent 20-plus fantasy points, what else can you do? So Minshew, 31 of 49 passing, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. James Robinson came down to earth finally, 13 carries, caught 5 of 7 targets for 70 yards. Also had a really, really bad fumble on 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter. And Laviska Shenault steps up yet again. 7 receptions on 8 targets for 79 yards. And DJ Chark left the game in the fourth quarter due to an ankle injury. But even before the injury, DJ Chark was non-existent, and he's a guy who I have steady concerns over yet again, or actually finally, should I say, because I held out on hitting the red button on Chark for as long as I could. More on him in just a little bit. For the other side, though, the Texans in their first game without Bill O'Brien, they improved to 1-0 without B.O.B. Deshaun Watson let loose 25 of 35 for 359 yards, 2 interceptions, but he also was able to find the end zone 3 times. David Johnson, 17 carries, 96 yards, and Will Fuller and Brandin Cooks both balled out. Fuller got in the end zone, also caught 4 of 8 targets for 58 yards, and Brandin Cooks, welcome back from the dead. Cooks, 12 targets, 8 receptions for 161 yards, and 1 touchdown. So let's go back to my camera. Where are we at? There we go. Let's talk about this. With Minshew, again, I really do want to reiterate just how great Minshew has been this season. Gardner Minshew is currently QB12. He is a quarterback 1, and that's, woo! Let's go. Minshew is just a great option if you have a Carson Wentz, if you have a Matt Ryan, or you have another struggling quarterback, maybe a Jared Goff, just because of Goff's inconsistencies. There really is just a world where he's going to finish as a top 10 quarterback, and it's because of this team. You look at the games that he's had, and it's just 20 points versus Indianapolis in week 1. 20 points versus Tennessee in week 2. The dud game in week 3, which is going to leave scars. That was a Thursday night game versus Miami. But he comes back off of that with a 20-plus performance versus Cincinnati and another 20-plus game versus Houston. And this is just what he does. The attempts are there. The yardage are there. He has great chemistry with his wide receivers. Keelan Cole, DJ Chark even, who's been struggling. Laviska Shenault come on. Even the tight ends with Tyler Eifert, and obviously James Robinson in the backfield. This is an offense that can score. We've seen it. They just put up points. Despite that, they're still 1-4. But this is a team that is going to air it out. They're going to chuck it, and they're going to find a way to just put some level of points on the board. It's not world burning. It's not 35. It's not 40 points a game. But it's a consistent 20, and that's fine. That's great for fantasy purposes. So I'm still all in on Minshew going forward, and it's actually funny because I was trying to consider what I wanted to do with him going forward. I know for a fact Matt Stafford recently hit my waiver wire, and that Stafford is a guy who I love. So I'm gonna actually be trying to narrow down that decision between picking up Matt Stafford or continue rolling with Minshew. I just believe. I believe in both quarterbacks. I think I just like the Lions' offense just a little bit more. I just like having Kenny Golladay, knowing I have him as my number 1 option on the outside every single week with Matt Stafford, and Stafford obviously being the gunslinger that he is. James Robinson, down game, not worried about it. We've seen what he's done throughout the first 4 weeks. There should be nothing that concerns you. Just a fluke game for him. Laviska Shenault, just a guy that you need to consistently just stay on your radar. He might be a waiver wire ad that you need to pick up now. If you have the option, if you have the flexibility, and obviously flexibility is what everything's going to come down to between COVID cases and bye weeks and just the reshuffling of schedules. Everything depends upon whatever level of flexibility that you have for your roster. But again, another game seeing 68% of snaps, 8 targets, 7 receptions. He's literally just, when he is on the field, he is getting looked at. And that can only, 68% of snaps can only continue to happen for so long, especially if Chark is going to miss time with his ankle injury, or if he just continues to really just be a letdown, all things considered. Keelan Cole finds his way into the end zone yet again. This is his 3rd touchdown of the year. He is very much touchdown or bust, as we've seen throughout the first 5 weeks, getting into the end zone on 3 different games. In each of those games, he's played pretty well in all things considered. I'm not excited about starting Keelan Cole in any way, shape, or form. I have him on my bench in Dynasty, and it really is one of those things where it's like, am I ever going to play him? What is he for my team? Is he just this in case of emergency player? Is he a bye week play? I think that's really where he really fits into your fantasy lineup, is just with bye weeks coming up quick and fast down the pipe. Keelan Cole might be a fine start there if you have to. And then really just DJ Chark, like final point here for the Jags. It's hard. It's hard. I don't know what to make of Chark here, because what we've seen is Chark. He missed week 4. He missed week 3 due to that ankle injury. But before that, 10 points, 10 points, and 20. 10 points, 10 points. Misses week 3, comes back week 4, 25. And then again versus Houston, really, really bad game, rough game. 4 targets, 3 receptions for 16 yards, and 0 touchdowns. Doesn't find his way into the end zone. Also leaves the game with an ankle injury. We don't know the severity of that at the time that I'm recording this video. But what do you do with Chark? You're not cutting him, but you also can't start him yet. I'm very, very concerned about what to do with Chark. He reminds me actually a lot of Odell Beckham at this point. It's what is he for your fantasy team? Where does he rank in your tier of wide receivers? For example, I sat Robert Woods to play DJ Chark this week, and I feel really fucking shitty about it. Because if I were to play Robert Woods like I intended to all week long, and I didn't make that late pivot, I think I made that pivot on either Friday or Saturday night. If I didn't make that late pivot, I'd probably win my matchup this week, all things considered. But unfortunately, it's just the way that it goes. So with Chark, I think you just need to evaluate where he is in terms of your wide receiver core. Is he your 3rd or 4th option? I don't think you can rely on him as your 2nd if that is the case. So I think you need to upgrade from there. But if he's your 3rd or 4th option, I think that's totally fine, and you just need to hang on to him as just a depth piece at this position. Again, he's startable. It's just one of those things where you never really know at this point what level of production you're going to get, because the targets just aren't there for whatever reason, even though Minshew's throwing the ball fucking 40 times a game. Moving over to the Texans, Deshaun Watson, I really do just want to give big ups to him. Came through and dominated. It's been a bit of a rocky start for Watson owners, all things considered, based upon where you drafted him. In that 5th, 6th, 7th round territory, he's one of the early quarterbacks that went off the board. And to just see Watson really come through and be able to do things and play aggressive and go downfield and make plays, it really is just encouraging for the Texans offense as a whole moving forward. There was a quote that came out earlier in the week before they played, and Watson was saying that him and Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, they just have a great chemistry, and they're excited to be able to just continue to evolve and develop the offense in ways that they know that they could post Bill O'Brien. So I'm really, they were saying things like they were in this together. So to see Watson come out versus Jacksonville and luckily, I guess, fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you slice it, the Jags were missing a lot of star players in this game. C.J. Henderson was inactive. Josh Allen was inactive, and so was Miles Jack. So this defense was absolutely shredded, and so this was a game where Deshaun Watson could absolutely torch them. But not only that, even though this defense was weak in that way, just to be able to have a game like this that can give Deshaun Watson and the Texans offense confidence moving forward, I think is really big. I don't care if it's the Jaguars, just being able to have a game like this is really important going forward. David Johnson, you need to play him every single week. This is I've been just banging this drum for David Johnson. He is as consistent of a fantasy running back as you can get. He's not a world burner anymore. Those days are long gone. But he is now in the same kind of territory as Le'Veon Bell, as even Jonathan Taylor, where you're going to get a consistent 10 to 13 fantasy points every single week, and as your number 2 running back, you'll take that. Like, what is wrong with that? We need to learn to find ways to let go of the past, reevaluate, and then proceed with the future and understanding the value that a player actually has for fantasy. And this is David Johnson, right? David Johnson gets traded for, and the Texans give up DeAndre Hopkins. And everyone's saying, well, David Johnson's washed. Was he, though? Because if you look at some of the numbers from Arizona, they really weren't bad. He had that injury that really set him back, and then the team trades for Kenyon Drake, and then he gets out of the rotation trying to come back from the injury. And he had a banged-up year, but he started the year as a top 12 running back. He was looking very, very good during the early parts of last season, and here we are now, 18 points, 16, 10, and 11. This is just like production that you're going to get from David Johnson. Again, he's no longer a running back 1, but he is a great and safe running back 2, or even your 3rd running back if you were able to get him in the 5th round if he slid that far in your draft and you already were able to lock up 2 others. He's currently running back 23 in PPR formats. He's even 20 in standard. Just David Johnson. Just keep him in your lineup. He's doing great things for you. Again, for the Texans wide receivers, I need to owe Will Fuller an apology for the fucking 4th time this season. I'll say it. I'm officially in on Will Fuller. You have to play him if you have him. He's seeing the targets. He's getting the yardage. He's finding his way into the end zone. Will Fuller, he's here. He's officially the Texans' number 1 wide receiver. I know Brandin Cooks had a great game as well, and I think Cooks' value long term is actually going to continue to improve. But Will Fuller, he's just done great things for your fantasy team. If you have started him, if you've suffered through the dud in week 2, if you suffered through the hamstring injury in week 4, it's really cool to see Will Fuller, a guy to finally be able to maintain some sort of consistency for fantasy football. And then Brandin Cooks, like I said, 12 targets, 8 receptions. I think this is actually going to be the biggest change for the Houston Texans offense going forward, and that really is just getting Brandin Cooks more involved, getting Brandin Cooks out in space, going deep, throwing, getting big chunk plays. Cooks is still a very, very talented wide receiver. I really just think it's a matter of it just hadn't happened for him. And you also have to remember that he's been now in this point 4 different teams in 6 years: the Saints, the Patriots, the Rams, and now the Texans. So he's just a guy that's really moved around, and I think you can actually make the argument that Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback, at least at this point, that he has played with. He's played with an aging Drew Brees. He's played with an aging Tom Brady. Jared Goff is whatever you make Jared Goff out to be. But I think in terms of just pure talent, Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback that Brandin Cooks has played with. And that has to be really exciting for Brandin Cooks owners if you've been able to hold on this long. And maybe even just look to see if Brandin Cooks is on your waiver wire, just because he really hadn't performed over 3 of the first 4 weeks. So he might be there. He might be a great pickup if he is on your waiver wire. So, all right, let's move over to the next game. That's all I really got for this game, all things considered.